Good evening and welcome to the BBC's News at 6. As international diplomats gather in Switzerland for a conference aimed at ending the conflict in Syria, there are claims that Syrian government forces are guilty of torturing and executing prisoners. It comes in a report by 3 former war crimes prosecutors. They were commissioned by Qatar, which backs the rebels. They've examined 55,000 images smuggled out of the country. The disturbing photos show injuries to 11,000 dead prisoners. The Syrian government has denied claims of abuse. Our correspondent Paul Wood's report contains some graphic images.
Tens of thousands of people have disappeared in Syria's jails, many tortured to death, according to the opposition. They say there's proof of that in these disturbing images. A military photographer catalogued some 11,000 deaths in custody. He defected, taking the whole library of abuse with him. It shows body after body, beaten, emaciated.
The injuries were repeated time and time and time again, the brutal beatings of half-starved people. And the pictures of starvation, of course starvation itself can be used as a means of torture. The pictures of starved bodies were evident, were reminiscent of the pictures one saw that came out of Auschwitz and Belsen after the Second World War.
The photos are in a report commissioned by Qatar, which backs the rebels, but it was written by some of Britain's leading war crimes lawyers. They say such evidence would support findings of crimes against humanity against the current Syrian regime. Such evidence could also support findings of war crimes against the regime.
I've seen a lot of this evidence. It is compelling and horrific. And it is important that those who have perpetrated these crimes are one day held to account.
All that doesn't augur well for the peace talks here in Montreux, where President Assad's representatives are due to arrive shortly. President Assad is hardly likely to want to negotiate his own exit if that leads to an appearance at The Hague. He's made it clear all along he believes these talks are about anything but the transition of power. For the opposition, that is the main order of business here. But most of the rebels actually doing the fighting inside Syria aren't represented in Montreux. Most too want an Islamic state, not a democracy. Some rebel groups are part of Al-Qaeda. They will fight on, whatever happens in the talks. Meanwhile, President Assad seems to be winning. No one really expects a peace deal in Switzerland this week, but perhaps it's hoped a durable ceasefire might emerge. That's something the UN could never achieve in 3 years of Syria's civil war. Paul Wood, BBC News, Montreux.
And our diplomatic correspondent Bridget Kendall is in Montreux, where the peace talks are taking place. Bridget, with all these allegations, what hope is there for these talks?
Well, the expectations have been kept incredibly low. It's been so incredibly difficult to get the 2 delegations to agree to come here and to orchestrate all the other people, as that spectacular row over whether or not to invite Iran yesterday showed us all. So I think if they can keep the 2 delegations from shouting at each other or some dramatic walkout by one or the other, the organisers would think even that was positive, let alone any real positive breakthrough on the political side. But I think the UN, who's in charge here, what they really want to see are some kind of concrete steps on the ground that would help the humanitarian situation in Syria, all those millions of displaced people who are trapped or short of food. So I think what may be the focus are some small steps, if they could just get the 2 sides to start some sort of dialogue for temporary truces or temporary corridors to let humanitarian aid through. If they were able to do that in the next few days, then they would consider it a real achievement and something they could build on for the future.
All right, Bridget, thanks very much.